Hello, my name is Annette McGivney. I am a journalist. I live in Cortez, Colorado, and I'm also the author of various outdoor books. And one of the books that I have written that I'm going to share with you today is called Pure Land. And that's a picture of the Grand Canyon. And the subtitle is A True Story of Three Lives, Three Cultures, and the Search for Heaven on Earth. So the three lives in the book are a woman named Tomomi Hanamura, a boy named Randy Weskogami, and a woman, me, and how our three lives intersect. And this story began for me as an article for Backpacker magazine. It started out as focusing on Tomomi. She was from Japan. She was really drawn to wild places like Grand Canyon and hiking in those places. And so in 2006, for her 34th birthday, Tomomi went to Havasu Falls in the Grand Canyon, which is on the Havasupai Reservation. It's a beautiful waterfall, and it's just outside the national park on the reservation. And she hiked alone, headed down to the falls, and she'd done a lot of hiking in Grand Canyon before, and had a very adventurous spirit. And unfortunately, Tomomi did not make it to the falls. She was murdered, and this is the subject of the book, investigating what happened with the murder and why, and also the article that started the book for Backpacker magazine. But Tomomi was killed by an 18-year-old boy named Randy Weskogami, who was a member of the Havasupai tribe. And so with the magazine article that grew into the book, I investigated what Randy's life was like in addition to Tomomi's, and what had happened to Randy as a member of the tribe that is the indigenous people of Grand Canyon, and what they had experienced over many generations that could have possibly have led to such violence. So I look at the murder, I look at the native people of Grand Canyon in my book, and I also look at Tomomi's life. So for the book, I was able to go to Japan and learn a lot more about Tomomi. And I visited with her family, with her father, with her cousin Konomi, and they shared with me her journal and letters that Tomomi had written from when she was visiting in the United States. And so I got to know Tomomi even though she had passed, and it was a real honor to be able to bring her to life and her adventurous spirit to life in this book. And so what I got to know about Tomomi was that she really had devoted her life to visiting the United States and visiting wild places like Grand Canyon and Yellowstone and Yosemite. And she had gone to an English school in Mississippi to learn how to speak English just to make her travels easier. And so the chapter I'm going to read you is called Earth and Sky. And it's about Tomomi's early days as an adventuresome woman in the United States and her experiences in Monument Valley, because not only was she interested in the land in the West, but she was also very interested in learning about the indigenous people of those landscapes. So the Havasupai, the Navajo, all the culture history that went into indigenous people and their ties to the land was something that she wanted to learn about and experience as part of her travels. So in this chapter, Tomomi goes to Monument Valley. And the way I learned about this was not only from what her family had shared with me in Japan, but I actually visited with the woman where Tomomi stayed in Monument Valley. And I went there myself and slept where Tomomi slept and interviewed this woman named Agnes so that I could reconstruct Tomomi's experience and do it journalistically for this book. So this is all true. It's all based on interviews and my fact digging up about Tomomi and her journals and letters. And so I'm just going to read the first part, and hopefully this will intrigue you and you can continue if you're interested. So here is chapter 2, Earth and Sky. Agnes Gray lives in a trailer in the middle of Monument Valley. It sits like a lighthouse on the shore of a vast ocean of space. Travelers drifting down from Utah or up from Arizona can see the white metal structure from 10 miles away, glinting in the sun, standing out against the red dirt and blue sky. As they get closer, they can read Agnes's hand-painted sign, bed and breakfast in a traditional Hogan. Many people stop. but few people decide to stay. They look at the dirt floor inside the Hogan and over at the outhouse and they ask, "So this is where I would sleep?" said Agnes, and I tell them, "That's right. You are in a different country now. This is how we live on the Navajo Nation." In December 1997, Tomomi Hanamura knocked on the door of Agnes's trailer. Tomomi was 25 and with her boyfriend Mako, a Japanese citizen she met the year prior while attending an English language program at the University of Southern Mississippi. They had returned to the U.S. over the Christmas holiday to visit school friends in Mississippi and make a road trip through the Southwest. They drove all the way across Texas and were now on the last leg of their journey, headed for a motel in Flagstaff, 140 miles away. Then the airport in Phoenix to catch a flight back to Tokyo. Mako was driving 90 miles an hour as tumbleweeds blew across the road and distant, oddly shaped rock buttes flew by. "Stop!" Tomomi shouted. She couldn't resist Agnes's sign. They stayed for 2 nights and then they went on their way. "I thought that was it," Agnes recalled years later. Then maybe 3 days passed and Tomomi was at my door again, this time by herself. Mako had boarded a plane in Phoenix, wanting to return to Japan in time to attend a family New Year's celebration. But Tomomi called her father and said she was changing her ticket and extending her stay. She had to go back to Monument Valley, to Agnes's place, right away. The urge wasn't explainable to her father, and Mako didn't understand either. Yet as crazy as it even seemed to herself, Tomomi was convinced something special was waiting for her there, like a gift still wrapped. In the Navajo language, Hogan means home, but for the Navajo, the traditional round structure with its domed roof is much more than a place to sleep. It embodies the tribe's belief system and their spiritual connection to the earth and the cosmos. The structure is circular because the earth is round and a single door faces the east to greet the rising sun. The floor is dirt to embrace Mother Earth. The conical roof with a smoke hole at the top offers an entrance to the universe and a connection to Father Sky. Structural posts holding up the roof are placed like a compass at the 4 cardinal directions of east, south, west, and north. A wood stove in the center of the Hogan represents the central fire of life, and the stovepipe reaching up through the roof is the link between the earth and the sky. Inside a Hogan, there is harmony, symmetry, and the constant reminder that a human being is part of something much bigger, a single star in an infinite universe. The family Hogan of Agnes Gray is about 40 feet in diameter and 20 feet tall at the apex of the smoke hole. The interior walls and roof are built from the trunks of large juniper trees, and the exterior is a thick stucco of red earth. Like many Navajo on the rural 26,000 square mile reservation, Agnes prefers the convenience of a trailer, with its sink, toilet, and generator-powered electricity for day-to-day living. But the culturally correct Hogan is the family's traditional home, a spiritual sanctuary, and sometimes she will rent it out to strangers passing through. "A lot of miracles have happened here," she said. "Traditional weddings, including my own, healing ceremonies, birthdays, peyote meetings, Christmas ceremonies. There are no furnishings in the Hogan during the ceremonies, but Agnes tries to offer bed and breakfast guests comforts. She puts an airbed on the red dirt floor and covers it with thick fleece blankets. She brings in a round plastic table, some folding chairs, an oil lamp as the only light, and a 5-gallon water jug and large bowl as a way to wash. She also keeps the tiny plywood outhouse 50 yards away as aesthetically pleasing as possible by hanging a bag of dried lavender on the wall and putting a padlock on the door to make it for guests only. "I only open the Hogan to people who are willing to listen and who appreciate it," Agnes explained, sitting at the plastic table as her 2 grandchildren jumped on the airbed. "For people who are not with it, I can feel the energy and everything around them, and so I back off. I tell myself, those people don't need to know. They won't understand. But for people who do understand, I can talk to them. Once in a great while, people like that, who really understand, will come here. Her voice softened from defiant to nostalgic to silent as the memory of Tomomi's visit filled the Hogan. So that's the end of the first part of chapter 2. I hope you keep reading. And here is a picture of Tomomi that I keep right here on my desk. She was a beautiful woman, and that is her dog, Blues. I hope you enjoyed this, and get outside, do some hiking, and have a great day.